all, my dear students and everybody who is watching our video. We are doing something serious, a little serious from before. If you have seen my previous videos, the ones which I had uploaded in the last three videos, it was based on our language functions. Now I'm getting back to reflections, my dear students, and we will start with the farmer's wife. And farmer's wife is little serious poem. Okay, probably you might have not come across something of this sort or heard about this, so-called incidents which happen where the farmer commits suicide and the difficulties his wife and family and children go through after his death. Okay, that's the reason I said this poem is a little serious. Okay, and I'm sorry, I also need to be a little serious when I describe or when I summarize this poem. Alright, now before I get into the poem, I want you to analyze a question which I'm going to ask you now. Why do you think farmers commit suicide? Tell me, think about it. Why do you think farmers commit suicide in our country? Our country predominantly, our strength is agriculture. Yes, we are agrarian country, right? We solely or mainly rather depend on agriculture, correct? In spite of that, wherein we depend majorly on agriculture, farmers commit suicide. And what are the reasons behind that, dear students? Think about it. Listen, farmers commit suicide for various reasons. Sometimes natural, sometimes man-made, sometimes which are voluntary, which are involuntary. For example, they fear because probably for one particular yield they might have incurred losses for variety of reasons. Say for example, government wouldn't have supported them with minimum selling price or minimum support price, probably. Nature's fury, either drought or heavy rains, correct. The quality of the soil would be depreciated or depleted because of, there are a number of reasons, probably use of lot of pesticides, chemicals, and usage of chemical fertilizers, not using nature-friendly fertilizers would have depleted the quality of the soil or the fertility of the soil. So what is the aftermath of this? The yield would have reduced, correct? And as I said, nature's fury, right? And just imagine guys, how will they manage to run the show at their homes when they don't get proper yield? How will they manage it? Probably they would have borrowed money from banks, from the landlords, for that matter from the neighbors, from rich people around, and few would be legally who would have legally borrowed money from banks. Few would have asked a favor of getting money from their neighbors. They wouldn't be able to repay the loans. So what will they do? What is the best thing they could think of at that moment? They think of ending their life. At that one sensitive moment, my dear students, they go to the extreme, they take the extreme step of committing suicide. And probably they would have, generally what happens, they either hang themselves or they drink pesticides. Very, very sad state of affair in India, especially because we, as I said earlier, we are an agrarian country and we depend mainly on agriculture. And because farmers feed us, and ultimately the fate of our farmers is in a very, it's really pity. It's really a sad state of affair. Now, yes, farmer has committed suicide. Probably he wouldn't have, I mean, that is one sensitive moment as said, but he wouldn't have even thought of his people whom he might leave behind. How much would they suffer? Especially a woman, especially the wife. How will she take care of the rest of the things, rest of the obligations? Because, and ultimately understand this, guys, we women are always minority in the society, in the male dominated society. We are not welcomed with open arms. Correct? So, how will she take care of all these things? And especially when farmer's wife is not educated. Thankfully, and most of the time you might have heard, especially for the girl child, she should be educated. Nowadays, it's like this. We need to give education to girl children because who knows what's in store for them in their future. So, girl child should be educated. God forbid, if any unforeseen incident happens in their lives, who's going to take care of them? They need to take care of themselves. Correct? So, farmer's wife, if in case, by chance, if she is lucky and if she is little educated, her life would be to some extent, she can have a dignified life. And unfortunately, that percentage of educated farmers' wives are very, very less in our country. And where will they have so much time to study, by the way? Yes, they would get married at very early age, right? They would, as soon as they get married, they would have to get into the grind of the family. They will bear their children. They don't sit at home. They need to rush with their husband to their farms. They have to work in their farms as well. They need to come back and do their household chores over here at home as well. So where would they have time to study, to have a me time? And God forbid something of this sort happens, who's going to take care of these so-called minority of the society, right? So the gist of the poem is this, my dear students. When a husband commits suicide, ends his life, the people he leaves behind, be it his parents, be it his wife, be it his siblings, be it his children, how are they going to face their life after him is a big question mark, which has been spoken about very, very, in a harsh tone, rather in a sarcastic tone as well. I'll tell you how throughout the poem. Ultimately, determination is also made clear here. What determination is that? I'll let you know very shortly. Okay, so this is just a bird's eye view of the poem. Now we shall get into, before I start explaining the poem, I'll talk about the poet as well. Alright, so dear students, let's talk about our poet, or rather poetess. She's called by her pen name Volga, and her actual name is P. Lalita Kumari. Okay, her pen name is Volga. She is a Telugu poet. Alright, and she has written a lot of novels, articles, poems. Okay, and predominantly her works talk about feminist natures, feminist characteristics, and portray feminist perspectives. Okay, and in fact, her works had created debates about the upliftment of women across the society. All right. In fact, she's a Sahitya Academy awardee as well, and her first novel was published in 1986. Okay, and the second novel was published in 1987. Her first novel was Sahaja, and second novel was Swecha. Okay, these two novels talk about a married woman and her boundaries, which has been set by the so-called males or male-dominated society, and how she has to break those shackles and come out to lead a dignified life. All right. Now let's get into the poem, The farmer's wife. And page number 82. I expect my students, offline students, to have their books or textbooks handy, because when I teach or when I read the poem for them, they would underline the important stuff. Okay, so people listening to me as well, please have their books handy so that they can also underline. Now, before we explain, my dear students, check the picture there. What a heart-rending portrait of a woman, of a widow for that matter, you can see here in this picture. What are the things you can observe? Who are the people whom you can observe here, who can be seen in the picture? Of course, you have seen, you have a dead body lying on the pyre, correct? You have the woman who's carrying a child and who's got children around her. There are other women sitting there, and in the bubble you see people with turbans. Okay, who are these, by the way? These people are those who had lent money to her dead husband. Okay, now she's standing in front of her dead husband and she's asking a couple of questions. Basically rhetorical questions. What are rhetorical questions? Questions which are being posed, but you will not expect any answer. You cannot expect any answer. They are rhetorical questions. And the poet begins the poem in a very sarcastic tone. Sarcastic. I'll tell you how. She, the lady over here, the widow, is trying to ask or convey something to her dead husband. What is that? You're virtuous and you're gone. Poor sinner that I am remain before your creditors. Okay? You're virtuous and you're gone. What do you mean you're virtuous? As I said, she's sarcastic. She's saying, you're great. You're too good. You're godly. You're virtuous and you're gone. You're no more. You died. Poor sinner. I am a bad woman. I am a sinner. I've done a lot of sins. That's the reason probably I'm still alive. I'm remain before your creditors. Who are creditors? Who had lent the farmer money on loan. Be it from bank, be it, as I said, the land loss, etc., etc. So, husband is gone. Now, wife is standing in front of a dead husband's body, and she's lamenting, she's crying, or rather, obviously she's hurt. She's in that irritated mood, anger mood, that she's trying to vent out her emotions here. She says, you're virtuous and you're gone. I'm a poor sinner that I remain in front of the creditors from whom we have taken money. You unable to bend your head or stretch your hand or sell your crops, you crossed over. See, people think that only male have self-respect. Only males have self-respect. Women do not have. Females do not have. Only men have self-respect. Is that so? Because he had so-called self-respect, he couldn't bend his head or outstretch his hand. Correct? Or he couldn't sell his crops. Probably for that particular yield he couldn't get proper crops, or that particular crop was under loss, complete loss. So he couldn't bear all these, and so he crossed over. What does crossed over mean? Crossed over means he is dead. He is gone from this level to the another level. So, unable to bend your head. You couldn't bend your head. You couldn't ask or rather speak to the creditors. You couldn't stretch out your hand. Couldn't have asked for some more time. You couldn't have bought some more time. Or you couldn't sell your crops. You crossed over. What an escapist you are. Couldn't you sustain all these? Is her question. But I was born with a head bent, a hand outstretched, not unused to being sold. What do you mean by that? We, women, or the girl child, is always considered, a birth of a girl child is always considered a taboo in the Indian society even till today. We are lucky enough that we are born in urban areas. There are still, in remote villages, people still feel if a girl child is born in their houses, they feel that she's a burden. They cannot bear the responsibility of girl child. And if at all they allow her to grow, they allow her to live, she is being brainwashed. What will be told to her? That you are a woman, you are a girl, you have certain limitations. You need to abide by those limitations from the day of her birth, or from the day she is able to understand the society across around her. She will be told, put things into her head. She would be brainwashed, saying that you are a girl, you are a woman, you do not have the same freedom as a man has. So that is already put into a woman's mind and head. So she says, I was born with a headband, in the sense, not literally, but she's been told, you need to be like this, you need to have your own limitations. A hand outstretched, she has to ask for everything, from her, either from her father or from her siblings, or probably from her mother as well, or from after marriage, from her husband, from her son. So hand outstretched. It is not unusual for a woman to ask something, but it is like very, very humiliating for a man to ask something. Is that so? Question mark. Please think over. So she says, I was born with headband, a hand outstretched, not unused to being sold. Very, very strong statement from the poet herself. Not unused to being sold. What do you mean by that? Now, in certain rural areas, if a girl child is born, it's not welcomed in the family. What do the so-called cruel family try to do with this girl child? They try to sell the child off. Okay, I don't have to get into the depth of this, because you know very well, when a child is a taboo, considered a taboo in the society or in the family, they feel it that the child is a burden for them. What do? They will be looking out for an opportunity wherein they can sell off the girl child. And there are a lot of instances wherein these things have happened in the past. Probably now may not, but in the past these things have happened. So the poet says that I'm not unused to all these things. I was totally dependent on you. Knowing all this, you crossed over. Knowing all this, you did leave me. You knew that if you die, my plight would be really, really pitiful. My state would be really, really pitiful. Still you left me. Question mark. Do you think the husband will get up and answer all these questions of us? Then why should she lament all this? That is her frustration. She is venting it out. Okay? Next. You have to understand this from a woman's perspective. Okay? You found release with poison, poisoning my bitter existence. You found release with poison, poisoning my bitter existence. What do you mean by that? You thought, okay, let me drink poison and let me die. But had you ever put a thought on this? That I will die off, no problem. But what will happen to my existence? How will she able to take care of? Will she be able to take care of her family? So bittering, you have made my life bitter. You have poisoned my existence. You poisoned yourself and you died. No problem, fine, forget it. But before you could do that, did you ever think that my existence will be bittered completely? You never had a slightest concern about all these before taking this extreme step? It's a question, rhetorical question again, posed by the farmer's wife. Next. She's little practical. She has to be practical. Women are in fact very practical, okay, and very strong than men. Agree? Women are always a degree stronger than their male counterparts. Check at home as well, guys. Check within your family. You will come to know, and I am sure you will agree with whatever I'm trying to say. On a lighter note. Okay, now let's get back to the poem. She says, the cotton crop is what yesterday's, but a family? After all, cotton crops. You didn't you ever think that? See, it's after all cotton crops. Today we've lost it. Tomorrow probably we'll get it. A better yield probably. Tomorrow the next yield will be 100% success for us. This yield we lost it. But okay, let us be positive. You should have at least thought of it, na? That okay, this time I've lost. No problem. Next yield will be a success for me. You never thought of it. You thought of your ego, which will get hurt. But what about our families? Did you ever think before taking this extreme step? She's trying to ask this question. Now, coming to the so-called husband and wife, or the family's norms or duties and responsibilities of a woman. How often have I drowned in it? How many times have I escaped death? Whether you abused me or reviled me, kicked me when you were drunk, I thought he is but a man. Guys, understand this. How often have I drowned in it? Drowned is like, because it's family, guys. And mothers, women are the backbone of the family. She has to witness a lot of things, ups and downs in the family. But she is courageous enough to balance everything. Our family, your family, everybody's family will have lots of ups and downs. And who is managing everything without any credit into her kitty? She is the woman of the household, woman of the family. She says, I have drowned in it. I have, immersed myself in taking care of the household chores, taking care of the duties and responsibilities as a woman, as a mother, as a wife. Correct? So, how many times have I escaped death? Probably, not literally, but if you think of literal death situations, near death situations, she would have got hurt in the kitchen. Probably should have slipped and fallen down. Probably should have got hurt physically, mentally, right? So near death situation, I have escaped death as well, for your sake, for my family's sake. Whether you abused me or reviled me. Abuse, because a few men, they have this tendency of considering themselves as demigods, and they feel that yes, I can command my wife, so they can go to any extent for that matter. So she says that you have abused me physically and verbally, reviled us, kicked me physically and mentally abusing, emotionally abusing her, abusing wife, kicked me when you were drunk. But I thought, he is but a man. After all, my husband, he has all the rights on me. So it's okay, even if he has kicked me, even he has abused me, it's fine, he is my husband. Little did I dream you would deal me a death blow like this. I had taken all this, correct? Because I understand, I always thought that you are my husband and you can do all this with me. But I had never thought, even in my dreams, that you will give me a death blow. Not physical blow at this moment. Death blow is like he's no more there. He's gone. He's dead. Death blow, wherein I cannot get you back. So never had I dreamt in my life that in spite of you kicking me, hitting me, abusing me physically, mentally, emotionally, I never had thought that you will give me a death blow, as in I get the news that you are no more. I never thought so. Hope you're following me, guys. Next. Okay. Now, she's again a little practical. She says, true, the crop was gone. The debt remained. Our dignity hit the dust. Our hearts turned to water. See, as I said, all of us are not born with golden spoon, silver spoon, diamond spoon. Most of us are born with plastic spoon. What do you mean by that? Our life is not like we have legacies to back us up. We have crores and crores of assets and money in our banks. We don't have so much of bank balance so that our next generations will sit and eat leisurely. Most of us are not like that, are not born like that. Yes, we'll have lots of ups and downs. Our life is not always, we cannot walk on, we don't have a cakewalk anytime in our lives. We should work for it. Correct? We have to put our effort to have our life or run the life in a smooth manner. Correct? So she says, crops were gone. True. This year we had a loss. True. The debt remained. Obviously, when we lost our crops, we couldn't repay the loans. Debt remained. Right? Loan remained. Correct? Our dignity hit the dust. What is dignity? Self-respect. Yes, people will talk about us. People will mock at us. They'll tease us. They'll criticize, saying that they have got borrowed so much of money, they're not able to repay the loan. What kind of people they are, etc., etc., etc. You will keep hearing all this. There are a lot of people who might have experienced all this. So she says, our dignity hit the dust. Okay, so fine. She says it's okay. Our hearts turned to water. We lost all our self-respect, emotions, our happiness, everything. We've lost everything. But yes, we were a family. We were there for each other to support each other. You didn't understand this, did you? She's questioning her husband. But how did you imagine my back would bear the burden of 4 children? How did you imagine? Were you so cold-blooded, cold-hearted? You thought of all these things, all so-called materialistic things. Why did you think for a moment, what if after I go, what if I go, how will she bear the burden of our 4 children? Did you ever think of it? Is her, again, a rhetorical question. She's again saying, she's lamenting and lamenting and lamenting, dear students. So that's the reason the undercurrent of this poem is a very, very sad stage of our Indian vibes for that matter. Okay, so I have to get into the depth of the poem. You saw your crop destroyed. What of the harvest of my womb? You saw the crop, yes, the crop destroyed this year. We lost. But what of the harvest of my womb? What do you mean by harvest of my womb? My 4 children. Our 4 children. Did you ever think of them before taking this extreme step? She's asking. Can I leave them to the wind like worm-eaten cotton pods? Can I become like you? Can I follow your footsteps and get into the graveyard like you? What will happen to our children? You wouldn't bother about our children. Do you expect me also to follow your footsteps and die? Then who will take care of my children? Who will take care of our children? Will they be left to let them survive under the mercy of God? She's comparing her children. What if she leaves her children like her husband? What will be the state of these children? Can I leave them to the wind, mercy of God, mercy of wind, like worm-eaten cotton pods? What do you mean by worm-eaten cotton pods? Now, you know how cotton plant looks, correct? Cotton is a very, very sensitive, very, very delicate, very, very light-weighted texture material, correct? Fabric, if it will become a fabric. It's cotton. It's like such a sensitive plant. But its shell is very, very thick, very, very hard. It's not easy to break the shell unless it is infected because of these worms. What will happen if you have an infected cotton pod. Cotton pod is the shell. The shell will break open, the shell will become loose, the shell will scatter, and in turn the cotton will be scattered across. And it would be under the mercy of feet, mercy of wind, mercy of animals, mercy of insects. So what will happen to cotton? Ultimately it gets destroyed. So she is comparing her, if at all she leaves her children and go behind her husband, her children will also become like this worm-eaten cotton pods. Who will take care of them? If they should live, because only if the so-called God shows them some mercy, right? I cannot be like you, she says. I'm not going to leave my kids. I'm not going to leave my children. It takes a moment to die. Yes or no, guys? It takes a moment to die. A fraction of that weakest moment will ruin your life completely. A fraction of that the most weak moment will ruin your rest of the life. Right? So always they say that if you pass that moment, the weakest moment, you will sustain, you will live. So it's a big challenge for the weak-hearted, for the depressed souls to pass over that weak moment. So she says it takes just a moment to die. But open your mouth and ask, what of this? Why is this? What was the need for you to commit suicide? Why is this? We certainly had a lot of options. We could have bought time. We could have asked for extra money or extra time. People are not so cruel. She's trying to convey this. So she says, what of this? Why is this? After all, for cotton crops, failure of cotton crops, you die and leave us behind like this? Needs a firm heart. Yes or no? We'll have lots of ups and downs. Everybody will have their own ups and downs. You cannot succumb like this. Just because you have a failure in that list of achievements, among the list of achievements, you'll have one or two failures. You cannot succumb, saying, oh God, I lost. How can I face a society? That's a cowardly thing a person can do. Please do not do any nonsense like this in your life. Life is precious. We should have firm heart. It needs firm heart. Understood? That's what she's trying to say. Needs a firm heart, strong heart. I'm going to teach my children. I'm very strong, mentally and physically, for some extent, yes. I will teach my children to clench a fist, hold my fist tight. I'm going to teach my children to fight, to work hard. Okay? Not merely for a handful of rice, but in battle. So, she's trying to say that I am going to teach my children to sustain, to struggle, come back like phoenix. Even at some instances, they may lose confidence. They may also lose hopes. But I'm not going to make them cowards like you. I'm not going to make them escapists like you. I'm going to teach my kids to be strong-hearted, strong-willed, not just to work hard, but also to fight the challenges of their lives. Yes, she says, I must live. I'm not a coward like you. I'm not going to die. I will live. I am going to teach my children also to live. I must embrace life, but not death. Never ever will I be, taking this step of killing myself. Never. So I will always embrace life, not death. Embrace life and struggles for life. Obviously, not all of us will have a cakewalk throughout our lives. We will have our own struggles, correct? I will embrace life. Also, I'll embrace the struggles which are part of this life. And I'll make my children strong like me. I'll make them come back like phoenix every time they are pulled down. Yes? So dear students, understand this. This is life's lesson. We are all, as children, we were all under that protected environment which our parents would have taken, care of. Our parents would have protected us throughout until we stood on our feet, until we became independent. Now, once we are independent, we will have to face our own challenges. We cannot succumb like this because there will be n number of difficulties, dear students, n number of challenges, n number of downheavals. We have to accept it, fight against it, come back successfully. Alright? Farmer's Wife also talks about the same. The theme is the same. Don't be a coward. Be strong-hearted, strong-willed. Have that thing in your mind. I will achieve whatever I want to. I will achieve whatever I wish to. And I'll do it and show to the world that yes, I am capable. That will not come with just by dreaming it. You need to actually do it. Work hard to achieve your dreams. Alright? So, this is Farmer's Wife for you. Hope you like my narration. Please go through the poem slowly and understand what are the important questions, what are the board questions which will be asked. And now I'm going to talk about the most probable questions which will be asked from for your board exams. Okay. First, go to page number, the next one, Comprehension 1, guys. And first question. Who do you and I in the poem refer to? Who do you and I in the poem refer to? You refers to farmer. I refers to farmer's wife. You refers to farmer and I refers to farmer's wife. Why has speaker's husband committed suicide? You know the answer very well. He couldn't repay the debt. He had lost his cotton yield and he couldn't repay the debt. Next. Third question, guys. What series of contrast does the speaker draw between herself and her husband? Okay. So what is the answer? She considers herself as a sinner. She considers her husband as a virtuous man. He couldn't bear the humiliation and he died. She has to bear these humiliations and she has to live. Okay, this is just a bird's eye view of the answer. The complete answer in detail, I'll put it in the description and the link will also be provided. Go through that link and you'll get the answers for all these questions. Now I'm going to discuss just the bare minimum of the answers. Okay, because these are big answers. Alright, and summary as well. It will be there in the description. You can go through the summary also. Next, what expression in the poem bring out the contrast between the speaker and her husband's plight? What difference does this indicate? This always indicates that we live in the male-dominated society. So even the husband has reviled her, abused her. She has accepted it as okay, no problem. After all, he is my husband. What he can do, whatever he wants to. So the plight of farmer's wife is not taken into consideration at all. Okay. Again, check for the detailed answer in the description. Now, the farmer's wife in the poem is, the options are there in front of you. What is the correct option? Option F, all of the above. So complaining about her husband's death, lamenting the death of her husband, angry that her husband has left her, bitter about her husband's act, worried about her future, everything, all of the above. What memories of her husband trouble her now? Everything, because she has lost her husband. She has lost her dignity because now she is a single woman, totally dependent on the mercy of the rest of the family. She has to bend in front of the creditors. She will also remember the abuses what he had thrown towards her, etc., etc. Next, What does the phrase harvest of my womb suggest? Children. Harvest of my womb suggests children. And why is their plight compared to worm-eaten cotton pod? Because if at all she also follows her husband's footsteps, what will happen to the children? They will be affected. There will be malnutrition. They will have to live on the mercy of rest of the family. Okay, they might not have this dignified life, even if at all she leaves. Next, to what condition had her husband's act of committing suicide pushed her? Now, she's very practical. She doesn't want to kill herself. She has made herself very strong, and she says that I'm going to teach my children also to be strong. The poem ends with an assertion, a deep sense of failure and despondency, a will to survive against all odds. So answer is option C, will to survive against all odds. Alright, so this is Farmer's Wife for you, my dear students, and I hope everybody liked the way I taught you this poem. If at all you have any queries, any doubts you want to ask me, please drop in your message, okay, and I'll be glad to help you out. Alright, and do not forget to share, comment and hit the bell icon, and also subscribe. Alright, so happy learning, my dear students. See you soon again. Love you all. Take care.